Okay, so if you've ever tried learning a new language, you know that feeling, right?
Oh, yeah. The vocabulary grind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hours staring at lists, doing that thing. Was it decoreba?
Yeah.
That endless repetition.
Word translation, word
That
translation.
you feel like, okay, I've got it. For maybe like 2 days.
Then, poof, gone.
It's not just inefficient. It feels like your brain is actively working against you.
It kind of is, in a way.
So that's what we're diving into today. We've looked at some really interesting sources on basically how to stop that cycle.
Right. Moving beyond just hammering words in.
Yeah, finding ways to actually trick your brain, maybe, into holding on to vocabulary long term, using techniques that are, engaging and actually stick.
Well, the key thing to get is that you're up against a pretty sophisticated filter system, your own brain.
Okay.
When you just throw a list of foreign sounds at it, your brain often goes, nope, not important.
Uh-huh.
These words, they just fall into the forgettable pile because they don't mean anything initially. There's no relevance, no connection to your life.
Right, no hook.
Exactly. So we need a strategy, like a deliberate way to tell the brain, hey, pay attention, this matters. So it gets past that filter and into deep storage.
That makes sense. So if that shallow repetition is actually like counterproductive, what's the core principle we need to switch to? What makes words actually stick?
The big shift, really, is moving from just passively reviewing things to active recall.
Active recall.
Look, memory basically has three parts, right? Encoding, getting it in, storage, keeping it there, and retrieval, getting it back out. Rote repetition. It's terrible for encoding properly, and it's weak on retrieval, too.
Yeah.
We need to make retrieving the information, well, harder, more effortful.
Okay, wait, that sounds backwards. Like
Yeah.
when I use a flashcard and I see the answer and instantly know it, I think, great, I got it.
Right, that's the instinct.
But you're saying that quick recognition, that's passive and not very helpful.
Pretty much, yeah. It's the struggle to recall that actually cements the memory.
Why? What's happening in the brain when I struggle a bit?
It's all about the chemistry. When you try to pull that word out of thin air, like you see the foreign word, and you have to mentally grasp for the meaning without seeing the answer.
Okay.
And you get it. That's effort. Your brain rewards that effort. Successfully retrieving it triggers a release of dopamine.
Ah, okay. The brain's reward chemical.
Exactly. And that dopamine hits the hippocampus, the brain's memory hub.
Right.
And often the amygdala gets involved too, tagging it with a bit of emotional weight, like, yes, I got it. The whole thing creates this neurological surge that really promotes long-term storage.
So the sources called it a what? Drug-fueled memory party?
Haha, yeah, something like that. Basically, information linked to that successful effort gets locked in way deeper than stuff you just glanced at passively. You got to make your brain work for it.
Okay, that science clicks. Makes total sense. So let's talk about a really common mistake then, in that first encoding step. We always connect the foreign word to our native language word, right? Like English cat equals Spanish gato.
That is probably the single biggest trap learners fall into.
Why? It seems logical.
Because you're adding a completely unnecessary middleman. It slows everything down. When you see or hear gato, you don't want to think of the letters C-A-T. You want to instantly see the thing, the concept. You know, a furry little creature with whiskers.
The actual image.
Exactly. The visual, the concept. We remember images and concepts way, way better than just abstract word pairs. Skipping your native language forces that deeper conceptual thinking.
Okay, let's get practical then. If we need to ditch the translation and jump straight to the concept, how do we actually build those vivid, sticky connections you mentioned, especially for concrete words?
Right. Visualization is key here. For nouns, you can actually picture tangible things. You absolutely should use pictures instead of written translations on your flashcards.
So no more gato cat, just gato and a picture of a cat.
Precisely. Forget the English word entirely on the card, especially when you're starting with those common word lists. You want good, clear images.
So making flashcards becomes less about typing translations and more like an image scavenger hunt.
That's a great way to put it. And the sources point to a fantastic tool for this. Google Images.
Makes sense.
Just search for the foreign word, find an image that really clicks for you. Maybe it's funny, maybe it's striking, and use that one. That visual input makes the word real. It brings it to life immediately.
Okay, and it's not just any picture, right? It's also about connecting it to your life. That's the second technique, personal connection.
Absolutely crucial. Foreign words are just noise until they mean something to you.
Right.
So if you're learning, say, the Hungarian word for cat, maska, don't just grab any old stock photo.
Okay.
Think. When did you last interact with a cat? Maybe link Mosca to that time you saw that goofy stray cat in Budapest last summer. Or maybe it's your friend Sarah's really grumpy Persian cat.
Okay. Making it specific to my own memories.
Exactly. That personal link makes the word relevant to your history. It anchors it. And when you review that flashcard, maybe jot down a tiny note on it, Budapest pigeon chase, or Sarah's grumpy cat. Just a quick reminder to spark that personal memory.
This definitely sounds way more engaging than just drilling lists.
Right.
But, I mean, it also sounds like a lot more work up front, doesn't it? Why not just download a pre-made deck of 5,000 flashcards someone else already made? Save some time.
But that brings us right to the power of creation.
Okay.
When you do the work, when you pick the image, you connect the memory, you maybe even write a simple sentence using the word, you are actively telling your brain's filter system, this is important to me.
Right. I mean, coding it in my own way.
Exactly. It's tailored to your neural pathways. If you just download someone else's perfect deck, you're missing that whole customization step. Their images, their connections, they weren't generated by your brain. The act of making it yourself is like half the battle for making it stick.
That makes sense. It's like why taking your own notes helps you remember lectures better than just highlighting someone else's. It's that encoding effort.
Precisely.
Okay, so this works great for concrete things like cat or house. But what about the trickier stuff, like abstract concepts or grammar rules, noun genders, weird verb endings? How do we apply these ideas there?
Yeah, that's where we lean into mnemonics. Memory aids, basically using vivid imagery for abstract stuff too.
Okay.
If you've got some irregular pattern or a list of exceptions or maybe a grammatical rule that just seems random, you turn that boring chart or rule into a memorable, maybe even bizarre little story or image.
Can you give an example, like from the sources?
Sure. Let's say you're learning a language where the word for maiden is counterintuitively a neuter noun.
Okay, yeah, that sounds confusing.
Instead of just repeating maiden is neuter, you take 30 seconds and create a really vivid, maybe slightly absurd mental image.
Like what?
Like, you picture a beautiful maiden suddenly shattering into 1,000 pieces of neuter-colored glass, or something equally dramatic and weird.
Okay, wow, that's memorable.
Exactly. It's dramatic, maybe a bit shocking, totally ridiculous, and that imagery makes the grammatical rule, the neuter gender in this case, instantly pop back into your head when you see the word maiden. Mnemonics turn dry rules into sticky stories.
Okay, so this is getting really interesting. We've got these memorable, personalized words, maybe even linked with these crazy images. But how do we make sure they stay there permanently without having to constantly drill them every week?
Right. Now we bring in the systems, specifically spaced repetition systems, SRSs.
SRS. Okay, I've heard of those, like digital flashcards.
They're way beyond basic digital flashcards. Think of them as flashcards on steroids.
Okay. How so?
Well, the big problem with just reviewing flashcards randomly or all at the same time is you waste tons of time on words you already know really well while completely forgetting the ones you were just about to forget and really needed to see again.
So the SRS manages that timing for you. It does the heavy lifting.
Exactly. It uses algorithms, often based on the science of the forgetting curve.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how memory naturally fades over time.
Uh-huh.
The SRS tracks how well you remember each specific word or fact, and it schedules the next review for just before you're likely to forget it.
Hitting that sweet spot.
Precisely. It forces you to retrieve it when it's becoming a little difficult again, maximizing that effortful recall we talked about, but without letting you completely forget it. It drives the information deeper into long-term memory super efficiently.
Okay. What's the old school version of this? Before apps.
The classic physical version is the Lightner box system.
Right, the boxes.
Yeah, imagine a box with, say, 5 compartments. New cards start in box 1, you review those daily. Get it right, it moves to box 2, maybe review those every 2 days.
Okay.
Get it right again, box 3, review every 4 days, and so on. But if you forget a card, no matter which box it's in,
Back to box 1.
all the way back to box 1, daily review again. The idea is that cards that make it all the way to the last box have basically proven they're in your long-term memory.
Got it.
Modern SRS software dedicated apps or tools built into platforms like Quizlet, especially with newer AI features like their QChat, they just automate all that, making the timing incredibly precise and adaptive to your brain.
Using AI to manage that exact moment of review. That's pretty cool. So we've got personalized words using active recall, and we've got this system like SRS to time the review perfectly. How does this fit with that other big idea in language learning? Comprehensible input. Just, reading and listening a lot.
That's a really important question. Look, vocabulary is fundamental, right? You need the building blocks.
Yeah.
Comprehensible input, or CI, getting lots of understandable language slightly above your level, is hugely powerful. It's how we learn most of our native language, and it builds fluency, intuition, and context. But relying only on CI to pick up less common words can be really slow and inefficient. You might have to see a word dozens of times in context before it really sticks.
Okay.
The most effective approach, based on what we're seeing, seems to be combining them. Use CI, lots of reading, listening for immersion and context, and use focus techniques like visualization, personal connection, and SRS for deliberately locking in key vocabulary and patterns.
So it's not CI versus SRS.
Not at all. It's a synergy. They work together beautifully. Read and listen to understand and get the feel. Then use these active methods and systems to make sure the important stuff sticks permanently.
Okay, so the big picture here, the paradigm shift.
Yeah,
It's ditching that miserable passive drilling
absolutely.
and instead embracing active recall, making everything personal with images and memories, and then letting smart systems like SRS handle the scheduling.
Right. And when the process actually feels kind of fun, like you get that little dopamine hit from remembering something, you learn
Yeah.
faster, and crucially, it lasts. It becomes addictive in a good way, not unpleasant.
So ultimately, learning a language effectively isn't really about having some magic language gene.
Not really, no. It comes down to motivation, putting in the effort, diligence, but also using smart, scientifically backed methods. This kind of game plan ensures your hard work actually pays off with lasting results.
You know, this whole conversation really hammers home how critical that customization is. Choosing your picture, linking to your memory, creating your crazy mnemonic story. You're basically building the word's reality inside your own head.
Yeah, the personal construction is key.
It makes you wonder, though, about memory itself and maybe even truth. The sources mentioned this wild study. Researchers showed people ads for a fake popcorn brand that never existed.
Uh-huh.
Later, even the people who obviously never tasted it vividly remembered eating it and liking it, just from the power of the suggestion, visualization, in the ad.
Wow.
Right. So if our brain uses these techniques, visualization, narrative, to cement information, even false information, so strongly that it feels totally real, how much of what we think we know, our whole reality, is actually built on these personalized stories we attach to facts?
Yeah, that's definitely something to chew on. How much is objective fact and how much is the story we've built around it?
Exactly. Something to mull over until our next deep dive.